He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Friedrich Nietzsche. Hi, I'm Zachary Burr-Abel. This is Miles the Monkey, and we are Monkey Miles. So I'm a firm believer that we all have a why, that we'll always overcome anyhow, we'll always find that way, which is our purpose, our passion in life, the desire to live the life that you are meant to have. If you want to live the life that you are meant to have, you have to eliminate obstacles. And one of the biggest obstacles that most people confront are themselves. As Will Smith said, the world is trying to keep you down, and you're gonna kick yourself in the balls? And it is so true. And most people do that through personal finance. How are you going to pursue your dreams? How are you going to pursue what you want in life? The house that you want, the car you want. If you want to travel like I travel, if you're not taking care, you're not keeping your house in order. One of the things I think is a huge error in judgment when it comes to our education system is that they don't teach you personal finance. They don't teach you how your credit score is formed. So if you're suffering from a bad credit score, if you've made mistakes like I'm going to explain to you as I did in my early 20s, that's what this video is about. It's about aligning the path that you are on with the path that you should be. So I'm going to start off with a little story about how my credit score was adversely affected by a mistake that I made, how I ultimately got it up to a perfect score, and then how I lost it, but how I continue to maintain it in the high 7s to low 8s, which is top tier, which is going to basically get you the same interest rates on anything, whether it's a credit card, a lease, a mortgage, as if it was perfect. You don't need perfect. So stick with me, we're gonna go on this journey, and we're gonna get you traveling like this. Let's get into how did I ruin my credit score. Oh my God. So, you guys will laugh at this and how stupid I am. I was living in New York City after graduating college. I was studying to be an actor, yada, yada, yada. I get a manager. I'd done some modeling gigs. I was like, I'm moving to Los Angeles. I had some momentum, and then I get sick. 2 weeks before I'm supposed to move to LA, I go to the doctor. He's like, Zach, you just have a cold. You never had a stuffy head before, runny nose? What's wrong with you? I said, okay, but I'm moving to LA, so I have to be in my tip top. He says, Zach, get out of here. I'm gonna mail you your copay. So I moved to LA. I was off. I was meeting with the CW, I was auditioning, I was doing the whole thing. And who's this doctor in New York? They were gonna send me the copay. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that, was I? No! In fact, I left New York so fast to get out here to LA that I didn't even leave a forwarding address. So the doctor who sent me my $5 copay had no way of getting in touch with me. Well, I mean, I was just gone, out of my head. I was 24, I was gonna be out here, I was gonna get on a TV show, the whole works. So flash forward 3-4 years, I go into a Jeep dealership to lease a car. Sir, what's your credit score? Top tier, I pay all my bills on time, you know, no worries there, top tier. Okay, we'll run your credit score. So they run my credit score, 600. It was 600. If you guys aren't familiar with credit tiers, we're gonna get into that. 600 is like second to the lowest. That's like something's wrong. You've not paid somebody back wrong. Well, I hadn't. I hadn't paid that doctor back in New York. And so the Jeep dealership says, sir, if you want this car, we're going to charge you a lot more, like a lot more per month on the lease. So they go, here's your complimentary credit report. It's like, okay, great, thank you so much. I go home, I look through it. Boom, there it is. outstanding debt delinquent. I didn't even remember it. So I call up the creditor, the collection agency. What's this about? Still didn't even remember the doctor. They say, well, sir, you have an outstanding from Dr. So-and-so in New York City. It's like, oh my God. How much was it? Well, originally, sir, it was $5, but now you owe 30-some dollars. I was like, oh my God. I've ruined my credit over like 30 bucks. That's how easy it is to do. So there could be someone out. I mean, I'm sure there's people like me out there that have just done that. They've just forgotten about it. They haven't paid something. It's a gas bill. It's something. They've moved apartments. They didn't pay the final bill. Whatever it is, that's super duper important. So how did I build it back up? How did I get to perfect? In order to get a perfect credit score, which is sort of by chance anyways, but the only way that you can even possibly get it is that on the 5 factors that affect your credit score or determine your credit score, you're perfect in all 5 of those factors. So you've got inquiries, you've got your type of credit, your length of credit history, your utilization, and your payment history. On all 5 of those factors, with no derogatory remarks, on all 5 of those factors, you need to be perfect. So you have to have 0 or 1 inquiry in the last couple years. On the types of credits, you can have 1 type of credit, but it's even better if you have a couple different ones. If you have a car lease or you have a mortgage and you show that you're paying it, you have a recurring payment, you're paying it over and over and over again. Your length of credit has to be 9 or 10 years long. Your utilization has to be a single digit, so the amount that you use over what is available to you has to be less than 10%. And your payment history has to be flawless. You have paid all of your bills on time. You never missed a payment for 7 years. That's the only way that you can get to be perfect. And even then, you may still not be perfect, which is what happened to me because I started signing up for credit cards. So my inquiries went up, but who cares? Because as long as you're in the high 7s, low 8s, it does not matter. If you want a perfect credit score, it's only for bragging rights. It's only to show people I have an 850. You will not get preferential treatment on a loan. You will not get preferential treatment on lease payments, any of that stuff if you have 850 versus 800. You're still so high that people view you as being extremely credit worthy. So that's my story. We're going to go into some boring stuff here. I'm going to break down how your credit is formed. We're going to dive into those 5 factors. So let's break down why in my specific scenario, just a small little amount that I owed that I forgot to pay plummeted my credit score. In order to understand that, we're going to have to understand how credit is formed, the 5 major factors that determine your credit score. There's like a little 6th, if I had an extra finger. It's like derogatory marks, which is what I had. That's when you have an unpaid bill. But we're going to go into the 5 major factors. So this is going to be really useful if you're trying to understand why your credit score isn't higher even though you pay all of your bills on time, or if you have some derogatory remarks like I had 15 years ago. Maybe you made a mistake like I did. How you can correct that and how you can get your credit score to rise. So let's break it down. What are the 5 factors that determine your credit score? The first factor that affects your credit score is going to be new inquiries. This represents 10% of your overall credit score. This is any time you apply for a new credit card, you get a lease on a car, you apply for a mortgage. That is a new inquiry. It has a very minimal impact on your credit score. It will drop it somewhere between 3 and 5 points. It stays on your credit report for roughly 2 years, and within a few months that 3 to 5 points is erased and your score bounces back up. The second factor in determining your credit score that impacts your credit score is types of credit. This is also 10%. Right now, I only have credit cards. I've had a variety of different types of credit. If you've ever had a home mortgage, that is a line of credit. If you've ever had an auto lease or an auto loan, that's a type of credit. The more types of credit that you have, the better your score will be because it shows to a future lender that you've paid these different types of credit on time and in full. So then the likelihood of you paying them on time and in full will also be fairly high. As you can see, my credit score is still over 800. It's not that big of an impact, but if you're just starting, if you have multiple types of credit, it will help. The third factor that affects your credit score is the length of your credit history. So this affects it roughly 15%. We call this medium impact. So the length of your credit, you want it to be over 10 years long. You want to see that you've had a credit history that is substantive. If you're young, if you're in your late teens, early 20s, an easy way to add to your length of credit history, because honestly, like, you haven't been alive that long, so how would you have that much credit history, is to have a parent or a loved one add you as an authorized user. When I first started getting credit cards, I was an authorized user on my parents' credit cards. That actually added to my overall average. How does the average work? Well, if you've got 3 credit cards, the first one has one, you got it a year ago, the second one you got a year ago, and the third one you have 10 years of credit history. The total age is going to be 12. Divide that by 3 different types of credit, so your average is going to be 4. So that's decent. You actually want your average to be as high as possible. You would like for your average to be over 10, but if you're like me and you have 15 different credit cards, it becomes a little bit more difficult. It is of medium impact. My average age has ranged somewhere between 5 and 10 years since I started adding on to my wallets, since I started accumulating more and more credit cards, which I'm going to explain to you in number 4. The fourth factor that affects your credit score is very important, and this is utilization. Utilization dispels any idea or myth that you've heard that you should only have one credit card, you should pay that off in full every month, which you should, that's not a myth. But if you do that, that it was actually going to give you the best possible credit score you could have. This is not true. Utilization is what is going to be key to pushing your credit score higher. What I mean by utilization is what amount of credit do you use, which is the numerator, divided by the amount of credit that is available to you. So if you have one credit card and it has a $10,000 limit and you spend $1,000 a month, you're using 10% of your credit. That's a decent percentage. We would like single digit. But let's take a different scenario. Let's say you spend $5,000 a month and you have one credit card that has a $10,000 limit. You are spending 50% of your available credit, and that utilization number is very high. As I said before, we would like it to be single digits. 50% is a huge number. So if you only have one credit card, even if you pay that card off every single month, you're still using 50%, 20, 30, 40, 50% of that line of credit. Your credit score is going to be far worse than if you added credit cards to your wallet and you deepened that overall depth of credit, that overall credit available to you, which will actually decrease your utilization. I'll explain it to you. Why do I have 15 credit cards? Well, let's just take the simple math. Let's say I do spend $5,000 a month. Well, if I only have one card, and that card has a credit line of $10,000, I'm spending 50%. But if I have 15 cards and each of those cards have $10,000 limits, I have $150,000 of total credit available to me. I use $5,000 a month. Instead of having a 50% utilization over 15 cards, I now am using what? Roughly 3 and some odd percent utilization. That is going to skyrocket your credit score. That is what happened to me. That's how I ended up getting a perfect credit score. The fifth factor is payment history. 35% of your credit score is determined from payment history. So if we think back on my story where I moved from New York to LA, I didn't pay the medical bill, it was only $5. That was a derogatory remark on my credit score. It showed other creditors, other lenders, that I actually didn't pay something back. Even though it was really, really small, it plummeted my credit score. So it doesn't matter the magnitude, it doesn't matter the value of what you haven't paid back. If you do not have a clean payment history, your score will suffer unbelievably, as mine did. As soon as I cleaned that up, we could see over time, my credit score started to trickle up and trickle up and trickle up. How long is your payment history? If you have a derogatory remark, if you have a bankruptcy, 7 years. So it will take 7 years for that remark to be gone. Although you can call into one of the 3 bureaus and request that it show that that was paid and it was paid in full. So I would highly recommend doing that. But your payment history is unbelievably important. Those last 2, the 4th and 5th factors, are by far the most important things that affect your credit score. So you want to make sure that you have very low utilization. You want to make sure that you have a clean credit history, by far the most important. So to recap, we got the 5 factors of credit. We got those first 2, new increase in types of credit, minimal impact. Number 3, credit history, your average age of accounts, medium impact. And then the 2 granddaddies, 65% of your credit score is reliant upon these 2 factors, utilization and payment history. Remember my mistake. Simple $5 bill ruined my payment history, and then how I improved it greatly by contacting the credit bureau to show that I had paid it off after I had contacted the collection agency. Very easy. It will drop off after 7 years. And then how did I improve my score all the way up to perfect? I increased the total amount of credit available to me, which plummeted my utilization. And then I also, my new inquiries were very low. But remember, you don't need perfect. Let's go back to the very, very beginning. What Nietzsche said. He who has a why can overcome almost any how. You have the why, you have the how. Hopefully this allows you to remove this obstacle so that you can focus on your dreams. You can use your credit score as an asset that you can leverage to earn tons of points and miles, but also so that when it comes time to getting the car that you want or the house that you want, that you're getting the best interest rates. That's the goal. Allows you to free up your mind off of the things that you don't have to worry about, like your credit score, because you've been responsible, you've been able to pay everything on time. That is the goal. There's a bug. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'm Zachary Abel. That is Miles the Monkey. We are Monkey Miles. Hit that like button, please. Subscribe. We're so grateful for it. If you want to support, use the links. We'll see you next time.